I get phone calls as a grand sheik of our particular body every single day with people who are in trouble. And they're calling me. Let me not say every day. That's an exaggeration. I am going to say I get phone calls regularly from people who are in trouble. And they call me and they say, I've downloaded the ID and the paperwork from RV Bay Publications. I can't get in contact with them. I can't get in contact with Taj. I'm trying to put my status on the record before this court case. Yada, 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 yada. And so
Goddamn liar. On top of that, there's the Moorish Heritage and History School show every Tuesday at 9:30 that you can call into and you can ask any question you want. People call in there and tell them, hey, I've been trying to get a hold of you for a month or whatever and I haven't heard nothing. And they'll take the number down and call them, and then those people stop calling. Why they stop calling? Because obviously they got a call. So stop the lies. Stop telling stories on people that they don't return emails and stuff like that. And again, anybody out there who's talking about, I got my nationality from RV Bay and I called and they're not whatever, you need to cut the stuff up and give it back. Because you're not serious about your birthrights. Because obviously you don't study. Because nowhere on that card does it say that that card came from RV Bay. Prove you haven't even read the goddamn card that you got. That's how incompetent you people are. You didn't even read the card that you got, that you paid money for, fiat, whatever. You didn't even read the card. How we know you didn't read the card? Because you're calling this jackass Lord Abba talking about you got arrested for using false ID from the Taj site RV Bay. Just like the other one with the court. You know, well, call Taj because you got the card through them. There's nowhere in the card that says you got through them. This is not slavery. This is not slavery on this side. This is freedom on this side. Slavery is when the card says you belong to Moor Science Temple of America 13. You belong to Moor Science Temple of America or whatever. That's the slavery. Especially if that temple isn't dealing with any civics. If that temple is dealing with civics, it's a whole different situation when you get a nationality card from a temple that deals with civics and says you're a member of the Moor Science Temple of America with this card. That's totally different. If they don't deal with civics like Lord Abba's temple, and they're talking about divine stuff and religion stuff and they give you a nationality card, that's slavery. If you don't want to accept that reality, hey, cool, that's on you. You're being told by an adept that went through adept chamber. That's a grand sheik of a temple that exists right now. I'm telling you. You don't want to hear that? Because, you know, man knows not by being told, then go see if you can find out what we're telling you. And when you go out there, talk to all these other grand sheiks that's tight-lipped about stuff that we talk about, you're going to realize, oh, that's why he said whatever. That's why he's making reference to these things for me to go check them out and to study everything and not just take anything for face value. Certain things we tell people because if we don't tell you, you're not going to find out. Because there's a deliberate action going on to pitch active Moors as misrepresented. And we don't know what we're talking about. And, you know, what we're doing is sovereign citizen, whatever. Right? That's like idiots, you know, black power idiots saying that the law dictionary comes from the white man. Well, the Moors taught the white man. Sovereign citizen Moors. Not really, because Moors don't teach that they're sovereign citizens. Ones that are active. They don't teach that we're sovereign citizens. Oh, once again, Canaanland Moors, fraud knows fraud best. We are not sovereign citizens. So they've been told that we're not that. And people are going to listen. People are going to like things that this person presents when he's a fraud.
Before we get to that, we have a little disclaimer. So, when in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitled them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impels them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and they are endowed by their Creator with a certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, property, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. So, we the people, right, ourselves, we're really the government. The government's not who we think is the government, right? Majority of the governments on the planet right now are corporate entities that have usurped the power of the people and are using the power of the people to keep them in servitude, right? If you are considering exercising the right to freely travel in an automobile without the government's permission or taxation, you better without a shadow of a doubt become knowledgeable in de jure law, national principles, and contract law, or you will end up messed up by those corporate governments that are in possession and occupation of your birthrights. This is not legal information from card-carrying members of the Bar Association. So we're not lawyers, we're not attorneys. We don't have anything to do with that side of the jurisdiction, right? We don't have anything to do with the corporate jurisdiction. The reason why we're presenting this information is because we are, as Moors, we are the true inheritors and freeholders of this land called the Americas. And anybody who is in this land of the Americas, they're either here because they have some type of allegiance with the Moors and they're willing to deal with things on governmental principles, right? Or they're foreigners and they're here only to usurp, and that's it. So when we say the occult undertone and the sorcery of the driver's license, we're talking about these usurpers who are, when we say usurp is a nice way of saying vampire. Right? So these vampires have come into a land that's not theirs, and they're instituting things against the people that keep the people in servitude, economically, spiritually, emotionally, financially, governmentally, and any other way that you can fathom, and any other way that you might not have considered that we hope would open up that perspective for you today, right? This information is for everybody that cares about their rights. And again, if you don't know your rights, you don't have any rights. So the objective is to know your rights so that you can utilize them. And another thing to keep in mind, that in exercising of your rights, like there's unfortunately they're not here, but there's brothers that we've been down with for a long time that have got into the habit of exercising their rights on a constant basis, and they've been challenged by the corporate powers. And the corporate powers have taken some brothers and had their policy enforcers beat them up. Some brothers have done time in mental hospitals because they're talking about these rights that these government forces think, well, not think, they know what's going on. They know about the Aquarian Age because all those people in government are Masons, and they know what's going on. It's not a secret. It's only a secret because we've been ignorant to this information as far as from the law perspective. So in exercising your rights, know that you're going to be challenged. That's beyond a shadow of a doubt. They are going to, and challenge is a nice way of saying attacked. They're going to attack you. They're going to come at you on angles that you didn't think that these people would really come at you at, right? And again, it comes back to that thing of if people have dealt with any type of experiences as far as going to court and getting the book thrown at them when they try to exercise their rights in court, right? This is the forum for you to express that so that people can know how serious it is when you want to exercise your rights. Because it's not, this is not like, you know, when we come into consciousness and we might say, you know, we're going to join this group, and we go join the group and we get some type of membership and we pay a membership fee, and, you know, we're just going through the motions of this group, right? This isn't that type of stuff. When you start exercising your rights, these people are going to challenge you. And when they challenge you, they don't play. Because they're the ones that have the tanks and the guns and the army and all these things that they're using going all across the world. If you go talk to anybody else in the world, they're going to tell you about these same vampires that's trying to impose a democracy where they live. If you talk to Tibetans, Tibetans will tell you. If you talk to Sikhs, Sikhs will tell you. If you talk to anybody on the planet that's standing up for and standing up for the preservation and the securing of rights, they're going to tell you about these powers that be, that seem to be what we call third-party demons, which means that they're a third party and they're in the background and everything's happening out in front of them and they're not even involved in it, but it's happening because of what they've done. But they don't have to put their hands in it anymore because now they have people who work for them.
My mindset is like, wow, these brothers are still teaching this information, which is disinformation and misinformation, that are leading people to believe that they can file paperwork and somehow have a magic bullet to dodge their legal issues. This is not what the Moorish movement is about. This is why I addressed people like Sabir Bey, people like Taj Tariq Bey, people like Cujo Adwal L up in Canada. He lives in Canada. He knows nothing about American civics. He probably knows nothing about Canadian civics.
About the Articles of Confederation, 1781 to 1788. Article 11 of that Constitution, of that Confederation, states that Canada, acceding to this Confederation and adjoining in the measures of the United States, shall be admitted into and entitled to all the advantages of this Union, but no other colony shall be admitted into the same unless such admission be agreed by the 9 states. So 1781 to 1788 is the date of the Articles of Confederation. It's told, it's taught in every single school in this jurisdiction of Canada that Canada was founded in 1867. We don't have, it's not hard math to know that there's a problem. If they're saying Canada was founded in 1867 and the Articles of Confederation is mentioning Canada in 1780 something, there's an issue. There's 2 jurisdictions of Canada that exist. There's a de jure jurisdiction and there's a corporate jurisdiction. The corporate jurisdiction is the Canada that was founded in 1867. And that's the Canada that everybody's saying that they belong to, that they're Canadian, and they have that flag with the maple leaf on it. If you do your research on the maple leaf flag, you'll find out how many people have been sued by Canada for using that flag within their corporation or whatever the case is. Because that has nothing to do with the national, that has nothing to do with the landmass. That has nothing to do with a de jure government. The corporation called Canada sues people if they don't go and get permission. No difference than if we turn this place into a McDonald's and we don't go get permission from McDonald's, McDonald's is going to sue us because that's copyright infringement. And the flag is copywritten, and that could be documented, but that is documented, right? So if Canada's mentioned in the Articles of Confederation, that means Canada's part of the United States of America. Now when I was exercising my right to travel and I got stopped, and I told the officer, well, you know Canada's part of the United States of America, he told me that I'm a crazy person. This is an officer. He said out of his own mouth, you're crazy. Canada's not part of the United States of America.
1781.
1781. Right? But it's not to get mad at him or bash him. He's just ignorant because he doesn't study. He thought that, well, he can just get this job, and once he has this job, then he's protected.
Here we are at the U.S. Securities Exchange Commission website. I've typed in Canada and I'm going to enter search. We'll see what comes up here. There's Canada, the top #1 lists, listed as a foreign government. Click on this CIK number and up comes Canada, the foreign government, with a business address of the Canadian Embassy in Pennsylvania Avenue, Washington, D.C. Mailing address, Department of Finance, Ottawa, Ontario. And there's an 18KA document that is a report that's has to be signed and filed by the Minister of Finance, as all corporations registered at the U.S. Securities Exchange Commission must do. And here's the form 18KA, Annual Report of Canada. This is the name of the registrant. And it's securities registered. I guess all of us people in Canada are kind of the chattel for this corporation.
These people teach a bunch of Euro-Christian, right-wing, spawn of the Southern Confederacy, conspiracy theorists, anarcho, anti-governmental information. This stuff stems from racist Europeans in the South who were mad that the government took their quote-unquote property, our ancestors.
I begin, by the way, if you want to understand the United States of America and relations, all relations, you have to go back to the 1600s. And I start with a story by a man by the name of John Caesar. John Caesar was an indentured servant. In the mid-1600s, you worked for a man by the name of Anthony Johnson. Indentured servitude means that you work for 2 to 7 years under contract, after which time you get a piece of land, you go work it on your own. You can be prosperous as you want to be. He worked for a man by the name of Anthony Johnson. And one day he got up and left and walked off. He said, I've done my service, I'm leaving. Anthony Johnson said, you can't leave. And Anthony Johnson said, I'm going to sue you. So he sued Perkins and Caesar in court and said, you need to come back and work for me. The court said, we believe Anthony Johnson. John Caesar, you need to go back and work for him for the rest of your life. And they made a slave out of John Caesar. The courts made a slave out of John Caesar. Would you guys like to meet Anthony Johnson? Anthony Johnson became the first official slave owner in the colonies. Has anybody ever heard that before?
No.
Is that strange?
Yes.
Raise your hand if you think that's strange. Everybody does, right? Guess what? It isn't.
And never compensated them for it. Think about that. Think about this information. You can't drive without a driver's license. That's false. Everyone has the right to travel. You do have the right to travel. You can travel by your feet, by bicycle, tricycle, unicycle, airplane, train. You can travel whichever way you want to travel. Your travel is not restricted, but you have to pay a fare to get on public transportation, whether it be plane, bus, or train. In order to show that you're qualified to drive on the roads in the United States of America, you have to take a test. Or who would be liable for the accidents? The states would.
In order for us to see change happening, it doesn't have to be seen personally. But this is going on all across the world right now. People in Greece fighting because they don't want their government that they voted in to take some bailout package. Fighting. There's police officers in other jurisdictions in the world that are using their police powers to help the people fight the government. But for some strange reason, in this jurisdiction of North America, there's this, passive nature. Like right across the board. You're gonna go down and people talk about, occupy Toronto. Talk to them. Like occupation means that there's a war going on and you're trying to take over something. You guys have no tanks, nothing? You guys occupy Toronto? And then your occupation is put up a tent in a park?
Using the best they have.
And if that's the best that they have, we got a lot of work to do.
Serious trouble. It has really brought around some consciousness that the people are not totally dead.
Well, yeah and no, because the governments are still going, the fraud still go, I don't care how much they want to occupy. If they're going to sit in a tent and think that that's doing something to stop these forces from, exercising what they're exercising, then it ain't happening, right?
Well, they're going to keep on doing what they're doing because if they give up what they're doing, they would have lost the battle and they're not prepared to lose it.
Yeah, but think about it like this. How come, like for example, like yesterday I worked in that area, right? When you go down there, they got like a, like a sign. Like those signs that they got are like $200 for that sign. Where they get the sign from? Where they get the money for this sign? Who put that sign? I thought nobody was in charge of this thing. If you got a sign, somebody is a little too organized to say that nobody's in charge of this thing. In my opinion. Right? Like it's too organized. You got one guy that comes in, he talks, when the news comes, there's this one guy that's talking. Who's this guy? Oh, well, I have nothing to do with this, I'm just somebody that's here. But why did the media go to you? Like, why did they pick you as the guy, as the spokesperson for Occupy Toronto? And then, not only on the news, then that guy got in the paper. The guy with the glasses, and wearing a scarf. Same guy that they had on the news was in the paper. First guy on the front line, sitting down in the Toronto TD Bank lobby or whatever. First guy. Who's that guy? I don't know who that guy is. But they say nobody's running this thing, but they got signs and they have all these things that show that they're organized. If you're organized, that means you're an organization. If you're an organization, somebody heads you. Allow people to get abused and be taken advantage of is because maybe like a month prior, they put everybody on notice. So if you come down here, you're gonna get your ass kicked. Told everybody, had it in the paper, everything. This is the jurisdiction. The red box means this jurisdiction. The yellow box means this jurisdiction. From this street to this street. If we see you at this fence, we're gonna do this to you. If we see you over here at this corner, we're gonna do this to you. Well, people didn't pay that any mind because they think, that who are these guys? When they're really upholding the law, because that's what you're supposed to do. Before you do anything, if you're gonna kick somebody's ass, put them on notice. And I'm gonna kick your ass next week, and Put you on notice so you know that this is what we're gonna do to you.
If you don't defend that, we ask if you can't use it as a defense.
It's the same thing that the KKK did. Put up the sign. You know what I mean? Slave catcher, we're looking for slaves. If you see any slaves, let us know so we can lynch them. Put the slaves on notice. But slaves not looking at it like that. Slaves want to still walk around, be around the KKK. And they want to say, oh yeah, that's racism. Why did you do that to that black guy? Well, they put you on notice that they're going to lynch you. Don't you think it would be wise to not be around? Right? So what we want everybody to do now is, if you have a license, pull that out. Just so you can see it for yourself as far as the fraud that's going on. Or if you have a health card, if you have a bank card, if you have passport, citizenship card, whatever. Somebody says, let me see your ID, whatever it is you're going to pull out to give to them. Right? Whatever it is. Right? If you're wise enough not to walk with it, then that's good. We're making some progress. Right? So, government issued identification. Permit. So this is permit. This is the law definition of permit. Permit, to suffer, to allow by silence, agreement or given a license. Permit, noun. So the first one was verb. 2, permit, noun. A license or other document given by an authorized public official or agency to allow a person or business to perform certain acts. A license, permission, may be granted by a party, licensor, to another party, licensee, as an element of an agreement between those parties. A shorthand definition of a license is an authorization by a licensor to use the licensed material. Contract, an agreement with specific terms between 2 or more persons or entities in which there is a promise to do something in return for a valuable benefit known as consideration. So government issued identification examination. So when you look at the top of whatever document that you get, it's going to say who gave it to you. Say Ontario, Ministry of whoever, whatever the case is, right?
They're actually the owners of the license.
That means that that's theirs.
It's theirs.
It's not yours.
It's their name.
Yes, sir.
You know what I put beside where the signature is?
What's that?
I write the word for,
Right,
right on there.
right.
That means I'm signing for on
For.
behalf of that name,
Right.
which is not me.
So 2
Yep.
is Doe John. How much people write their last name first? When you give your name to somebody, you give your last name.
So the Department of Motor Vehicle was set up not to create contracts or make slaves out of people, as Taj Tariq Bey and Sabir Bey and all of these people teach, and Cujo. That's false. And if you're teaching that, then you're teaching anarchy. You're teaching people to go against the government. And this is not what Prophet Noble Drew Ali taught. He taught that we were a part and partial of the government.
And those are things that,
That's what we should be doing.
those are things that you can do as a European, and Dean Clifford could do. We can't do that. Because if we say that
I
we're
don't
the
consider
private,
myself European.
but that's what the court does.
Yeah.
That's why they'll give you the, yeah, sure, no problem, just get this guy out of here. If we say that we're the authorized representative of some fiction,
Everybody's
authorized.
Everybody's
authorized, you're
authorized.
taking the responsibility.
yeah, everybody's authorized. But again, it comes down to why are these people doing what they do? They're doing what they're doing really because they're usurping our birthright.
Absolutely.
Right? They're trying to get the people who look like us, right, to continue to be wards of the state.
Yeah, how do they get you to do that?
right?
Take a lawyer. Then they think you're mentally incompetent. You know, they-
But see, but this is the thing. People like us are mentally incompetent to those people. No, hear what I'm saying. People like us, right, are quote unquote slaves to those people. Right? We're not talking about the corporate debauchery. We're talking about from a historical perspective. Right? We're slaves to them.
That's why
That's all we are. So until we correct our status and stop exercising as a slave, they would, no matter what we say, they would consider us as a slave and treat us accordingly.
You know what you need to say then? And then it doesn't matter what they think, the universal court, right? I am freedom. I am God's absolute freedom. You declare that freedom every day.
Yeah, but again, it's different jurisdictions.
It doesn't matter what the
Yeah, it does matter. I'm telling you because I've been
Are you
in there.
familiar with the law of attraction?
I'm unfamiliar with all the universal laws. That's just one law.
We created that.
Right?
The law of attraction.
That's just one law.
Is invoked by your word.
Right.
If you declare your freedom, you know how many times I've been into court?
But again, you're speaking from the
your
perspective
skin,
of a
bro.
European.
You're not speaking out of his skin,
Right.
brother. Let me tell you that one more time.
I'm not saying you're a European. Yes, you're a child of God. We're all children of God.
I don't look at
But
myself
from-
as a European.
You don't have to look at yourself as that. That's what you are. That's what you are. If we look at it from a historical perspective, right? Forget about the connection to the universe perspective. The fact that we're on the earth plane. Everybody comes from some nationality, right? The nationality that we claim, right, most of the time is some corporate fiction. Negro, black, colored, African, something that has nothing to do with the human family. Has to do with slave tags.
Paying your freedom.
Being that, but freedom is not a nationality. Freedom is a state of being.
Yeah.
Right. But if the people
I
who
would
are
like
in
to hear him
possession
continue. please.
of our
Yeah.
birthright, right, know that we're supposed to be free. But if we, the people who are the actual indigenous people of this land, stand up for our rights, those people have to go back home to Europe. Have to go back home to Europe
Islam.
because this is not their land.
Or apply for
They can't
naturalization
exercise
citizenship,
what they're talking about. They're Canada and they're the government of Canada and they're the MP and they're the minister of whatever. They can't exercise that stuff around here. They're foreigners.
Occupied.
They're not from here. They don't have that authority here. That's what I'm saying. It's a different, yeah, you're right what you're saying. But that's your argument. This is the argument that we were having with Robert Menard. That he's saying, well, we should just get rid of all these constitutions and stuff and start implementing new constitutions. No.
Never.
Because we're the ones that created that constitution.
What
Why
do
am
you
I
mean?
why am I gonna get rid of the thing that my ancestors created?
I take 30 years. Constitution.
That means I'm getting rid of my own stuff.
You're abandoning your.
I'm abandoning my own things. And this is and again too, that's why I'm saying that this is not the way it is as far as what we're presenting. Because like for example with what you're doing with your license. That's not your license but their license, right? That's not something.
It's got my state name on it.
That's not something that I've seen anybody exercise. That's something that needs to be tried out amongst the Moors.
I've had it there for like 5
Right.
years.
That's something that needs to be tried out because it's something that's working, and it has nothing to do with national principles. It has to do with processes. It has to do with how are you exercising your rights in a way that those guys are going to recognize what you're doing and just leave you the hell alone when you present whatever documentation or information that you have, your volition, right? When you master fruition and you be what you know, there's different ways of exercising that, right? Our people are trained to think in a passive position. right? Europeans are a younger branch of the human family, which means that they don't have as much encumbrance to go through. They don't have as much violations in their genealogy that they have to get through. Like, we have millions of years of violations to get through, and Europeans have some thousands of years to get through. That's why you're going to talk to Dean Clifford, and you're going to go to a Dean Clifford lecture, and there's going to be 500 people there. And majority of them are going to be Europeans. When we go online and you look up all this information, you're going to see majority of Europeans taking a stand for rights. And when you ask black people about rights, they say, oh, we have a black president, so we don't have to worry about rights because the black president's going to take care of us. Right? Because it's perspective. Right? And again, it's not taking anything out of what you're presenting. What you're presenting might work for some people that look like us. Right? It might work. I'm not even saying that. I'm not even saying that exactly. Right? It'll work if they understand. Our people are.
What you're saying is process.
Process.
We have to understand how to apply the process.
But it's different though.
Well,
It's different. Not every process.
They don't even see you if you're applying the right process, because these things go into them before they challenge you. They don't know who you are, so you don't even get there.
They know who we are. That's the problem. Okay. With our people. With our people, they know who we are. They know that we're Moors. They know that we're the indigenous people of this land. They know that we've been in this land for thousands of years. They know that. It's not something that we even have to prove to them. The problem is that we don't have any allegiance to our prophet. We don't have any allegiance to divine law. We think Jesus is a European, right? When Jesus was a brother with dreadlocks just like this, right? We think the Constitution came from some Europeans in England. We think the common law comes from some Europeans in England. We don't know that the Constitution comes from the Iroquois Confederation. We don't know that the Iroquois looks like us. We don't know that the Algonquins look like us. We don't know that the Cherokee, Blackfoot, Lenni Lenape, whatever Indian tribe looks like us. We think that those are some Indians that we see on a reserve. But the people who are in possession of our birthright, they know that we're the actual inheritors of this land. And they know that once we wake up, then all these other people are going to wake up, because we're the founders of civilization. And once the founders of civilization step up, then everybody else is going to have to step up automatically, because we're the founders. Ask anybody around here, what's that pyramid on the dollar bill mean? Oh yeah, that's some Illuminati thing. What are you talking about? Illuminati has nothing to do with building pyramids. And I've never seen anybody in the Illuminati stand behind that symbol. They always stand behind the eagle. So if these guys are always standing behind the eagle, that means that the pyramid seal is silent.
Yeah.
Why is the pyramid seal silent? Because the pyramid seal represents Negro black colored people. Now they don't want to represent that because they think that belongs to Illuminati, which belongs to Europeans. And we just abandoned our birthright. We just abandoned our government that set up this whole thing. And it's 2011, and the pyramid seal is still on the dollar bill. They can't even move it. They could get rid of the $2 bill, $5 bill. They can implement all these other things, but they can't do nothing to that dollar bill. Why? Because the pyramid seal's on there. And the pyramid seal represents us. But if we don't know that, because of our ignorance, our black-hearted hypocrisy, our emotionalisms, then we throw that out with everything else, and then we complain about racism. When there's only one race on the planet, the human race, divided into nationalities. And if you don't have a nationality, like Prophet Withdrawn said, proclaim your nationality as a Moor. Because Moors are indigenous to the land, and once the Moors proclaim their nationality and be who they are, then this European has to go back home. Has to. It's inevitable that he has to go back home, because then he won't have any jurisdiction on anybody around here. One in the back, and then
yes, with all these subliminal diversions, how do we get back into character of picking up our ancestry from Moors? How do you feel we should go about this?
First thing is not looking at Moors from a third-party perspective. Like how we say, the Moors went to Spain. No, we went to Spain. Because Because we're those guys.
We're governors. There were governors there that run the country.
Right.
The only situation now is to create more black schools then to get this information out.
Black.
Because look at what,
Afrocentric.
you know, like, look what's going on right now. You know, they said, okay, well, we're going to give you guys a quote-unquote black school, right?
Afrocentric.
So, well, we give you an Afrocentric school, right? You got the Afrocentric school,
Share.
but now all the privatized black schools are now out of business. Because everybody who used to take their children to the privatized black school said, well, if the school board is going to offer free Afrocentric school, then why am I going to pay $500, $600 a month to support my own stuff when I could just go to slave master school for free?
And are the teachers
Which was the whole purpose of even them implementing that, was to shut down the actual organic schools that were actually doing what was supposed to be done. Yeah, it was $600. It's, you know, our people, you know, finances and whatever, right? But if we had 500 students, it wouldn't be a problem. It wouldn't be $600. It would be free. But we don't have 500 students. We have 5 parents bringing their children to this school.
I know it's hard. But through that channel, can we still get the information out where they can educate our young ones?
I personally know the principal, and she got my card, and I ain't got no calls yet to come teach nothing there. So I don't know. I'm not saying that it's her.
You keep pushing
Right.
every day.
I'm not saying that it's her, because she's on the knowledge. It's not like she doesn't know. She, you know.
Yeah, to really touch on what this brother was saying, remember, education is our inheritance. Educational institutions are inheritance. What do you think pyramids are? We had schools, we had universities, all of that stuff. Education in a structural form, yeah, we do need that. But we have that. We have this. This is basically a Moorish school. So what we have to do is strengthen what's already been established. The platform's been set. This has been going on for almost 100 years.
How do we
You
go
see what I'm
about
saying?
doing this?
So if you have any brethren who are interested in this type of knowledge, or that you think that should receive this type of knowledge, you bring them in. So right now we have maybe 30 people. Next week we could have 50 people. We don't have to worry about using their venues to promote our things. It's a conflict of interest.
How can we
you know what I
get
mean?
to them
It's a
without?
conflict of interest.
This is why I addressed people like Sabir Bey, people like Taj Tariq Bey, people like Cujo Adwell L up in Canada. He lives in Canada. He knows nothing about American civics. He probably knows nothing about Canadian civics.
Let's keep that question.
Because from what I understand with
Hand up.
Keep that question. Remember that question, and then ask. Let's just fly through these slides so we can get this done.
Very well.
I went on the International Association of Chiefs of Police website to get the law enforcement oath of honor, and then this is what I got. Right? So, the activity on the planet would let us, they would show the activity by their actions. Them doing something like this is a hooray thing. It means that people are out there doing their job. People are getting the information out to the people, and people are actually flooding these guys' websites, trying to get this thing down, trying to download this, and they had to say, okay, you know what, we can't even have this on the website anymore. Put this up. But this is what it really is. Right? So the law enforcement oath of honor, on my honor, I would never betray my badge, my integrity, my character, or the public trust, just like you were saying, right? Public servants, right? I will always have courage to hold myself and others accountable for our actions, right? So it is not an individual thing. Holding yourself responsible across the board. One guy sees one guy doing something messed up, he has to call him out on what he's doing that's messed up, right? And they're not doing that. That's why they took it down. I will always uphold the Constitution. It doesn't say the Constitution Act of Canada. It doesn't say the Criminal Code. It It doesn't say some statutory code. It says the Constitution, because they know what the Constitution is, and they have an obligation to uphold it. And just like I was saying with the information that's passed, even if they take this off the website, they still have to uphold this. Not because they took it down means that it has no power anymore, or it doesn't exist. It still exists, and will always exist once they have their job.
You get a copy of that?
Right? What I would suggest you do is you can
Email
you
you.
can actually
Email this stuff.
contact them.
Email this around.
International Association of Chiefs of Police through their website. Now the website's still up. It's just the part to get this is down. Right? So you can do that, or you could have a list and you could just leave your email address and then we'll send it out to you.
Okay.
Right?
Thank you.
Also too, United States codes of law, which is similar to the criminal code. So since Canada is connected to the United States, then we need to utilize all these things that they have on that side of the border that we think had never had anything to do with us on this side. So one of the things is the United States Code of Law. And United States Code of Law, Title 18, Deprivation of Rights under Color of Law. Whoever under color of law, statute, ordinance, regulation, or custom willfully subjects any inhabitants of any state, territory, or district to the deprivation of any rights, privileges, or immunities secured or protected by the Constitution or laws of the United States, or to different punishments, pains, and penalties on account of such inhabitant being an alien or by reason of his color or race than are prescribed for the punishment of citizens shall be fined not more than $1,000 or imprisoned not more than 1 year or both. And if bodily injury results, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned for not more than 10 years or both. And if death results, shall be subject to imprisonment for any term of years or for life. Also keep in mind that the only law enforcement officer is the sheriff. And we have sheriffs in this jurisdiction. And the sheriff's office is 393 University Avenue, 19th floor, Toronto, Ontario. So that's where the sheriff's office is. The sheriff has now been subjugated to giving people eviction notices and little foolishness, opposed to being out here among the common people, right? And also too, sheriff comes from Arabic sharif, S-H-A-R-I-F. And the individual we were talking about, Noble Jew Ali, his free name is Sharif Abdul Ali. And his name is Sharif because he's the one that has the authority, and Sharif comes from sheriff. Right? Or sheriff comes from Sharif. Right? Criminal Code of Canada. This is for the brother in the back that we're talking.
People like Cujo Admiral L up in Canada. He lives in Canada. He knows nothing about American civics. He probably knows nothing about Canadian civics.
Criminal Code of Canada is a law that codifies most criminal offenses and procedures in Canada. Its official long title is An Act Respecting Criminal Law. So it's an act. They say that it's an act. So if it's an act, that means it's for us to use to govern them. It's not for us to say, well, yeah, we have, the criminal code says, and then we. The criminal code is for us to let them know, right, their obligation. Say that again? To keep them in check. Just like the Constitution, right, is to keep them in check. Section 15, criminal code sections that you should note to keep in mind. Section 15, obedience to de facto law. No person shall be convicted of an offense in respect to an act or omission in obedience to the laws for the time being made and enforced by persons in a de facto possession of sovereign power in and over the place where the act or omission occurs. Section 122, breach of trust by public officer. Section 336, criminal breach of trust. So section 15, section 122, section 336. Section 123, municipal corruption. Section 128, misconduct of officers executed in process. Section 332, theft. Section 337, public servant refusing to deliver property. Section 341, fraudulent concealment. So fraudulent concealment would be, you know how peace officers have that jacket, and then sometimes they have the zipper on the side so their gun is showing. If they have that jacket on and that zipper's down, section 341, fraudulent concealment. Because their zipper's supposed to be up all the time so you can know that they're armed. Right? And they're supposed to be, where if they come to your car and want to give you a ticket and they're not wearing their hat, or if they're out of their uniform in any type of way, shape, or form, they're in violation.
Of section 341.
That's section 361, false pretenses. Section 123, municipal corruption. Section 122, breach of trust. Right, so section 380, fraud. Section 385, fraudulent concealment of title documents. 422, criminal breach of contract. Section 423, intimidation. Section 429, willfully causing event to occur. Section 429.2, color of right. Section 463, attempts and accessories. And section 465, conspiracy. The main ones that I would say that we use is section 122, section 336, section 346, section 380. So one thing too, there's no statute of limitation on fraud. So if you're going to call them out on anything, always call them on fraud first. Always call them on fraud first. And then subtitle all the other violations under fraud.
And again, you're reading this from?
This is sections of the criminal code of Canada. And then section 465, conspiracy. So remember that there's two persons at law. Artificial person, or the corporate person, which is the all capital letters person. And then there's the actual natural person, or the Moor or the Indigenous person. Driver's license is a proof of contract to stop your movement or current or energy or money. The origin of the license comes from so-called slavery in America, when slaves were used for delivery services. The slave would get a job with the same expenses that the master would have to deliver to another master, plantation, or state. They would give the slave fiat script so it thinks it's getting paid and won't run away since it's getting paid. And then the license was used to regulate the movement of those scripts through the slave. And then if you go through the Christian black codes, you'll find out about that whole idea, right? Have you ever noticed that there are two different color license plates in Ontario for common people? Have you ever asked yourself why? Black plates represent the commerce, who's actually supposed to be having the license, and the blue plates are the fraudulent plates. And then you notice that all the common cars have blue plates, and all the buses, trucks, etc. that are engaged in commerce have the black plates. And also, anytime you have someone in your vehicle, car, conveyance, automobile, whatever you want to call it, if you have somebody that's with you, never call them a passenger, because passengers pay fares. That means you're engaging in commerce, which means you need a license. So always call them occupants.
Yes. Call them a guest?
Or guest. Alright? Tickets and summons are bills of exchange and suits. Don't call them tickets, call them suits or bills of exchange. Don't call them summons. By calling them summons and tickets, you're hiding their function and their meaning. Their function is that you're being sued by a private corporation for driving an artificial corporation. Bills of exchange must be satisfied upon their issuance. A lawsuit is a civil action brought in a court of law in which a plaintiff, a party who claims to have incurred loss of a right as a result of a defendant's actions, demands a legal or equitable remedy. And most times when you get tickets, it'll tell you on top of it the corporation of the city of Toronto, the corporation of the city of Mississauga, the corporation of the city of whoever, and just like the brother's letter, the person who's in charge of that is the city solicitor.
So how would you respond to that ticket? So explain.
The best way to respond to the ticket is, before they give it to you, ask them to give you
No, I would accept it. You don't want to.
what a peace officer does is takes the fraudulent de facto ID that they impose on you, goes back to his car, writes on the original but returns with the copy, the defendant's copy, which makes you the defendant, or in contract law, in dishonor. What a peace officer does is takes the fraudulent de facto ID that they impose on you, goes back to his car, writes on the original but returns with the copy, the defendant's copy, which makes you the defendant, or in contract law, in dishonor. When you go to court for the bill of exchange that we ignorantly call summons or ticket, we are already in dishonor because we didn't sign the original, the peace officer did. So when you deal with it, you're gonna, your claim is gonna be that it's improper service for the officer to give you a copy of a bill of exchange.
The thing is, you need to get that ticket back to them in 72 hours. You
Right.
become a holder of the court.
Right.
And liable on it.
Right, so with the ticket, what you do is on the ticket, when you send it back, because the fact that you have the ticket, you're already in dishonor already. So you're gonna have to fight it in some kind of way.
Depends on the time limit.
But
It's 72 hours.
you have 72 hours, yes.
What
But
I
the
would
fact
do
that
is I would take a red pen and I would write across the top of it, new original ticket.
right,
And then diagonally, on a 45-degree angle, you're gonna write the date. If it's over 3 days, don't put a conk. And then you're gonna put void, no contract,
no
no
contract.
consent.
right.
And then
With the no contract, you could also utilize UCC 3-501.
Okay.
So UCC 3-501 is the UCC code for no contract.
Right.
So UCC 3-501.
And if you're gonna sign it above the police officer's signature. That makes him the underwriter, not you.
Right.
The underwriter's the one who's liable.
The last person.
But with that UCC, wasn't that UCC in the first place that contracted us for the driver's license, all these other contracts, whether they be healthcare or whatever they
Well,
may be?
the UCC is just for you to get back into the common law in order to be able to exercise or talk about these things that we're talking about. It's just like putting 4. If you put 4 on it, now that's obviously not you.
4 removes
So
liability.
somebody has to be responsible for it, and more than the person who's responsible is the fiduciary, which is them, not you, because that's their license, that's their plates, that's their tags, that's their sticker, that's their office,
You
etc.
know, their number one duty is to protect the estate and the executive, and they're all fiduciary trustees. I don't care whether it's, whoever it is, police officer,
I have a key on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just in case you have.
Oh, I have to just either way, but I'm still gonna be here.
see, that ticket is nothing but an offer of contract. You're rejecting it by putting void, no contract, no consent.
But
Send it back.
again, can you not just not accept it? Like, you know what I mean? They're
Okay,
trying
well-
to give it to you and you don't have to hold the ticket.
You need to
You
return it.
You could,
But you could, if you get a letter from them with the name, you know, usually at that window, just write, return to sender on it.
yeah, but you can return to sender all you want. Eventually, especially if
No such entity is
if it has to, especially if you're trying to get it back to them within the 72 hours, right? And because for our position, right? We want to go in there. Like I want to go in there and get my status on the record that you guys are running fraud, right? I don't want to dismiss it, right? It's like that's what's been going on. And when we dismiss it, that's when they take advantage because they're going to be under the assumption that, well, you don't want to deal with this, which means that you're in dishonor because you should want to deal with whatever obligation, whether it's fraud, whether it's whatever. We have a right to challenge the fraud, opposed to say, well, since they're dealing with fraud, well, I'm not even going to deal with this. I'll just return this to sender, knowing that.
No, you're not just returning it to sender, you're not going to get it.
No, but
No contract.
right.
Every man and woman has the right to unlimited right to contract or not to contract.
Right. But
What are they giving you a value if they want $25,000 for no insurance?
absolutely nothing.
No,
But again,
no contract.
it comes back to the lying, and that
You
it's
can go into court, the best way to go into court is as an executive.
but you're gonna have to go in there in order to be the executor. You can't dismiss stuff. You're gonna have to go in there.
See, the thing is, when you send it back to them, what are they gonna do with it?
They're gonna take it and they're gonna send you a letter saying, okay, you sent back the thing. It was a wrong process. In order for you to fight this ticket, you're gonna have to check off the back. You're gonna have to do this. You're gonna have to call this
That's their
number and
way.
say.
I'm not obligated to.
Just answer
yeah,
your question,
you're
what
not,
they're gonna
'cause
do.
You're European. It comes back to
No,
that same
applies
thing.
to you too.
Yeah, no, it doesn't
matter who
because
you are, they want the money, that's what it's all
Yeah,
about.
but again,
If you
Again.
think I've got some special rights,
No,
then
no,
you don't.
no, it's
They
not
treat
special.
everybody as a slave, not
It's
just
not.
because you're
It's
black.
more strategy.
It's strategy.
Playing chess. I mean, if you're a pawn, you can move only when the way pawns move. If you understand, that's, I think.
Yeah, but I don't think that
Strategy.
is, I don't think that is one thing that you should indulge in. If you claim that you have rights, you have rights.
No.
Oh, yes,
no,
yes,
no.
yes,
You know
yes.
why? You know why? Because for our people, Prophet came and he laid down what we're supposed to do. If we get off the path of what the Prophet brought us, we're not showing any allegiance to the Prophet. Asians show allegiance to Buddha. That's their prophet. Sikhs show allegiance. Hindus show allegiance. Europeans show allegiance to Jesus. But who we show allegiance to? Nobody. That's why people take advantage of us.
But I show my allegiance to
Islam.
my creator.
The Creator sent the prophet to you.
Well.
So if the Creator sent the prophet to you, don't
why
you think you
speak
should
to
show
the prophet
allegiance?
when you can speak to the creator?
If the
himself?
Creator sent the prophet to you, don't you think you should show allegiance to the prophet?
If he sent him to you, you don't ignore anything he says. because
All right.
he sent
So
him to
all
you.
right.
Yeah.
So if the Creator sent you a prophet, just like He sent all other nations a prophet, Muslims have Muhammad. They'll put their head on a block for Muhammad. Right? No questions asked. They're not even going to question it. Anybody talk bad about Muhammad? Or you're a blasphemer. They're going to defend Muhammad to the death. Because that's their prophet. Christians are going to defend Jesus to the death. Jews are going to defend Moses to the death. Negro, black, and colored people have abandoned their prophet and what he brought them. This is why we can't just see something and, oh well, it worked for that guy, so let's just do that. No, because if you're not going to follow what the Creator sent you through your prophet, then anything else you do is, you might as well not do nothing. You might as well stay in that nigger state.
Well, listen, you said one thing here. One race on this planet
Yeah, but every race on this planet, every nation on this planet has a prophet that was sent to them.
Yeah, but
Disobedience.
All from one source.
let's
It's
get
all
off
from
the,
one source,
let's
but-
get off the profit thing here.
But why does every nation, right? Why does every nation on the planet, every single nation, have a prophet? Why? Like, why does every nation has a prophet? That's undeniable fact. That every single nation on the planet has a prophet that was sent to that specific nation in order to save that nation from the wrath of the higher force. Every nation has a prophet. The wrath of the higher
I
force.
think
And the path goes to God.
Right?
Your Father loves you. He doesn't have wrath against you.
He doesn't have, well, he doesn't have wrath against us.
He sends a
It's
prophets
like
in
an
our path.
earthquake or a tornado.
Why do you think earthquakes happen? Just because they just happen? Just because?
Somebody's saying bombs are
Right? Harp is nothing compared to Mother Nature. Who's harp? Harp ain't nothing.
Man-made destruction.
I'm not gonna give harp more power than Mother Nature. I'm asking for an earthquake to come at me. If I'm
Trade
gonna
more
give
tornadoes
harp more
on
power
them.
than Mother Nature.
It's always going to be spiritual before
But it's the
it's
same thing like you saying, if you're giving the prophet more credence than you're giving the creator.
The Creator sent the
It's not
prophet.
about giving more. It's about
The Creator
recognizing,
sent the prophet.
period, right?
I'm not giving the prophet more power than the Creator. I'm recognizing that, okay, well, if
But the Creator chooses a man, which is a prophet, to prophetically say something unto a nation of people to warn them. So I'm kind of confused as to why there's this religion debate going on. We should be honoring our prophets. If you don't, then ashay. Please, can we just forward and let the Grand Sheik finish off this lecture?
Can we get on?
I mean, we're there.
It's not, but it's a good point.
But it's a point because again, people are gonna say, oh yeah, well, this guy has information. This guy has information. This lady has information. I've been on this website. I got this thing. This guy has this. But then the prophet brought you everything that those same people are bringing you. It's just from a higher perspective. Well, people don't want to consider that. They want to consider, well, what's the best paperwork to use? Well, should I get a license or shouldn't I get a license? How do I write on it? What's the best UCC to use? Should we sue police officers? If his hat's crooked, does that mean that he can't exercise what he's supposed to exercise? All that's irrelevant.
I just want to say one thing.
Right?
I've studied all this thing for years, and I thought that I knew a thing or two. That I just found out that I know nothing. The more you know, so you
The more you know, the less you know.
Yeah, you always have to be stressing to find out what is behind what you do.
All right. So if I mention the name Noble Joali to you, and you never heard that name before ever in your life.
No.
All right. So
What did
maybe
you
you should
study?
try to consider that. If
Well,
that's something that
I am.
if that's something that you don't know.
That's why I'm critiquing it, because I tell you, you don't want to just upset something because you're here
We're-
for a
hey,
roll out.
hey, from the beginning.
Definitely.
From the beginning. Don't take anything that was presented today as fact until you go check it out yourself.
Exactly.
I don't care who says it.
My point.
So one day I was occupying my conveyance, coming home, traveling on the roadways, and it's an island. So I was coming into the complex. There's an island, so I'm traveling this way. Peace officer is traveling this way, so now we're parallel to each other. So there's no way, he only could see me or the side of the car. So he decides he wants to come back around and see what's going on. I had a temporary sticker on the car at the time, which was expired. So he probably punched it up, followed me to my underground. I said I wasn't gonna stop until, like, he chaired me from before, but I kept traveling until I opened the key, went in the underground, parked the conveyance, and then started to engage with him. Tried to get out of the conveyance. The first time he wouldn't let me out. Started to talk to me, and I told him that I was Moorish American. I gave him my name, my indigenous name, proclaimed my nationality, for about 5-10 minutes. We were at a standstill, and then after that, we weren't going anywhere. And I had a friend with me. He knows about the info, but he's not really into it. He's like, "Come on, man, just tell him your corporate name, whatnot. Let's just get out of here." I'm like, "No, it's not gonna be like that." So eventually, I realized that we're just gonna be here because they couldn't go further. And I just learned something. It's something called threshold. There's a term called threshold. I haven't really studied yet, but that's a term you should get to know, because once you cross that threshold, you become in their jurisdiction, and then they could, they have authority over you. So eventually we couldn't go anywhere. So I said, okay, my corporate name is so. I didn't have their license on me either, because I don't usually travel with it. And there's nothing wrong with that license. It's not suspended. They didn't have any tickets on it at the time. I could have used it every day if I wanted to, but that's not my status. So I gave them the corporate name under threat, duress, and coercion. Told them if I have to assume this position of this person or this entity, then I'm doing it under threat, duress, and coercion. So I did that. They issued me a ticket for not having a driver's license, operating a vehicle without a valid permit, and I had an insurance still slip on me, but it was I think it was expired at the time. But that's irrelevant. If I'm not part of your jurisdiction, then I'm not required to have any of those things anyway. So that happened. That was done. They gave me the tickets. A month later, or I think I actually went to court. Or went to the courthouse at Markham, filed an application to take it to trial. I put my Indigenous name as the agent or as the representative for that thing, and I signed all rights reserved overlapping my Moorish name. The clerk told me I couldn't do that. Then I said that's how I signed my signature, and I gave it to her. And that was that. A month later, the exact same thing happened in the underground. With the same exact charges, but this time the peace officer decided that he wasn't going to take the insurance slip for what it was, and then he checked, and eventually, like a month after, he brought me 2 slips for no insurance. One on the day that he drew me down, and the other one was for a fabricated day that didn't even exist. So, went to that one to do the same thing. Reserve my rights. I'm just waiting in the mail for a trial date. And this was probably February-ish, and this is what now? We're in October, right? So a couple weeks ago, almost a month ago, got some letters in the mail saying that the corporation, Jason McCletchy, whatever Vendome, like Branchie explained to you, all caps, and her name was in proper person. It says the charges noted above has been withdrawn. The case is now complete. There's no conviction, no fine payable, and no other consequences that will result from a conviction. No further action is required on your part. If you have any questions.